We're just waiting for Dalchini founder Prerna to join us. Let's see. I hope. Hi, Prerna. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Glad to finally have you join us.
Yes.
So guys, it is my pleasure to invite and have Prerna Kalra, founder of Dalchini, on board today. Again, like if you guys remember, the Money Talks, basically we invite one founder a week, and we ask, we put them a bit in the spot. We ask them about their journey. We ask them about all the things that they're doing besides the funding bit. And yeah, there's a bit of funding. I think Gyan is what we take from them, but the whole idea is to delve deeper into what it really takes to be a founder, and at the end we have a bit of a rapid fire round, maybe taken a little bit from Coffee with Karan, right? And we don't let the founders know the questions in advance. So that's the part that you can see Prerna already hyperventilating over. So let me get started without further ado. Prerna, uh, so
Yes.
I've known you now for about 2.5 years, right? And we invested in your company Dalchini from my fund, Artha Venture Fund, and it's been a great journey so far. The question I have for you is, so COVID's hit you very, very hard, obviously because you're in the food business, right? And you're in the food distribution business, and obviously we've had multiple conversations over the last 3 months. So let's, for the audience that is already joined us today, let's talk. If you could give a bit of a background or a brief about where things are right now with you, how are things going, and what does Dalchini look like today? Is it a company that is changing its business model, evolving it? What is it going to be doing? So why don't we get started?
Yeah.
And you can also explain what Dalchini does, because for people that don't know.
Okay. So first, I will say that this situation is difficult. Obviously, most of the founders over here, this would be the first time. Some of you would have seen 2008 crisis, but obviously, when you're a founder of a company, it is really difficult, and you have some absurd feelings going through, right? But there's one thing very positive which I could see, and I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I could see that how agile these kids are, and they're coming through. Obviously it is difficult for them also, right? But they're able to adjust to all of this, right? And we as founders who have so many resources, or we as adults, right, who have much more brain power, so to say, right? So obviously we have to find some more agile ways to adjust to this. We have to learn and unlearn a lot of things, and that's my take from my 6-year-old, right? To basically adjust to this COVID situation, that every day there is a new learning and there is something to unlearn, right? And in order to just go with the wind, right? Once you have your thing in front of you, right, which is your vision there in front of you, right, it is about how do you find ways, right? So that's what keeps us as a team in high spirits, that okay, yes, we have to find out ways and we have to go what we intend
You
to.
know, I definitely remember when we first came up with the news, and we got all the founders together and we started talking to you about, listen, there's going to be a new normal now. I think you were very positive and also defiant that that we're going to find a way out of this, and that was I think some of the early interactions we had on this topic were there, right? But eventually I think we found a way to at least communicate that there has to be some sort of a middle ground, right, between being optimistic and being realistic. And I think
Correct.
so far we've at least been able to track much better than where we started. So, but for the audience again, if you could in maybe a minute, like the elevator pitch you give to VCs, right? Tell them a little bit about what Dalchini,
Okay.
what is Dalchini, what does it do, and and then we'll move forward from there.
So Dalchini is India's first home food vending machine. You would have seen a bunch of vending machines at airports selling those 7 C's: chips, cookies, candies, coke, cakes, kappa noodles, or chocolates, right? We sell fresh food, right? That's what our USP is. We have a tech-enabled supply chain, and we have multiple FBOs, food business operators, who sell fresh food through our vending machines. We are 230 plus locations now in 6 cities, right? And we help these food businesses, these home chefs, these small tiffin services, right, who are our partners or our vendors, to save 40 rupees of their delivery cost on every order, and also save 40 minutes of their delivery time for their customers. So potentially you can say we are kind of an ATM for home food.
And where did, I believe the genesis of this idea actually came when you were working for Paytm, right? So,
Yeah.
and you were one of the first, I guess, one of the first 100 employees, I guess, at Paytm. You joined
First
in
five.
2000.
First
Five.
five.
Wow.
Five.
Okay.
So I
when you
joined 2011 is when I joined Paytm. Yeah, so there are multiple things that came to, and finally we concluded on Dalchini. So my schooling has been in Meerut, which is a small town. My father had a mom and pop store, and he still has one. And both my parents worked hard to raise us, to like give us good education, right? And I was the first engineer for family, and it was a big thing. Obviously, for them it was, right, especially coming from that city, right? So, and I always wondered that how would my dad like scale from one mom and pop store which he had way back then, right? How would he scale, right? Is there a way that I can help out, right? Like from 1 to 100 to 500 stores like this, and which I could see that, okay, with he or my mother, they won't be able to, right? So that was always something that was going on in my mind. And then obviously time went by, I joined Paytm, and I was at Paytm, I made numerous trips to China, right? And there I could see that in China, there was these smart vending machines, unlike the ones you see at Delhi airport, right? These were much more advanced. They were selling a lot of healthy food stuff, and it was all fresh, like fresh fruit boxes to momos coming from the vending machine. So that's where I got started, that okay, can there be something like this which we can bring to India? So that's where my quest to start this vending machine thing, Dalchini, started. And can we create a different kind of a distribution channel for so many food? So India is one country which has so many food businesses, right? Who's starting from home chefs to tiffin services to restaurants, and then there's so many brands even in healthy food segment, right?
Very
and
true.
they struggle.
And Cloud Kitchen's also taking off, right?
Yeah, and cloud kitchens as well, right? And there is a struggle of unit economics, right, when it comes to whether it is delivering a single unit order, right, to the users, right? And whether if it is a brick and mortar store, then also there is a problem of unit economics which comes in. So can we solve this through a different kind of distribution channel? Can there be a midway between this brick and mortar store, which is general trade, modern trade, to what is there, which is home delivery, right? Which is e-commerce, absolutely tech connected, right? So can there be a middle way in between, which is physical as well as digital?
I see. Wow. And obviously working with you, I can definitely see you were one of the first people at Paytm. But let's talk about that journey a little bit. You joined in 2011. Paytm was worth about 275 million at the time. Did the round happen before or after you joined?
Yeah, everything happened after I joined. When I joined Paytm, Paytm was 197 communication, and there were just two people who had written a small code. I still remember there was a guy, Abhishek Rajan. He's still, I think he's still with Paytm. So they had written a mobile recharge website, was doing a couple of orders a day, right, kind of a thing. And there was no payments, right? It was just a mobile recharge website. And that's when I joined in 2011. And the way the journey started, and it ended up with like 250 million plus users. So it was obviously the kind of scale I could see, and I could see it could come in within like 6 years of my time frame at Paytm. So that gave me a lot of learnings in order to, and see, we come from a like Dalchini as a business, and we meet a lot of VCs like you, and before you and after you as well, right? And what people say that, oh, it's a operationally intensive thing. How would you scale, right? There's and that's what people used to say when we were at 2 vending machines, right? People said, okay, reach to 50 machines, then we will see. Then we will see. And then we reached 5,000 orders one day. And then people said, okay, now we are 13,000 orders plus a day that we already crossed, right? So there are thoughts still with some people, and there are few like you who saw that, okay, there is a way we can create, right? If you have the right team, if you have the right vision, if you have the right tech stack, right, you can actually achieve what you want to, right? There is nothing which is called as impossible, and that's what my learning were at Paytm, right? If you have the right vision and if you have the right team, right, you can definitely reach that point.
No, it's so critical that because many people have also misunderstood what Paytm actually stands for, right? And people just think it's some sort of a free payment app, but it's so much more than that. But what's also interesting about your journey was that not only were you one of the first employees at Paytm, but you were also one of the first people to start Paytm Bank, which was a venture within Paytm, right? And and so you were basically an entrepreneur within an entrepreneurial organization, right? So what was that like? Were you like?
So when I joined Paytm, and obviously my first interaction with Vijay was at one of the conferences. So I was a person in fintech space with just like a 2-year work experience, which is considered to be nothing, right? Staying in Bombay, coming from a small town from Meerut, right? No, like okay pedigree in terms of no IITs, IIMs degree, etc. Right? So nobody would have like really talked to you if you would have gone up front, right? And obviously, staying in Bombay, what you get is that you get to know a lot of conferences happening on fintech, and I went to some of them.
This is the part you tell us about how you met VSS. Please go ahead. This is so exciting, guys. Anybody listening in, this is how you join the unicorn.
So I like obviously you visit, and what do you do? Like how do you meet people? So in one of those conferences, I asked obviously a witty question, which was I always had a mind that okay, there is a conference going on, which is one big thing that I want to ask, right? Which is one big doubt that I have, which a lot of people over there on the dais would be interesting to answer, right? Would be interested to answer. So I asked one, and obviously that led to the conversation and how it started my conversation with VSS. And then obviously I also wanted to come back to NCR, right? And so got a call from VSS office one day that, hey, you want to come for an interview? And then this interview happened. And at that point in time, Vijay told me that we are thinking of bringing a wallet for the customers. And that time, wallet was like mostly agents or shopkeeper used to do for mobile recharges. And this was a dream. This was a big dream that I could see when we had the conversation. But when I came in, I got to know that Paytm didn't had a wallet license by that time. So it's way back in 2011. And I was like, okay, I've joined a company which doesn't have a license for which I'm the product manager of. So I joined as a product manager of wallet, and they didn't have a license for building one, and that's how it started. That okay, now put the pieces in place, and that's the beauty of working in a startup, right? That you get to know. Okay, you identify what are those pieces to be put in place in order to build something, right? Then you do it yourself. You get thrashing also for making mistakes, right? But but all in all, there's great amount of learning.
Because you're also very well connected, because small teams, you obviously whatever thrashing you're going to get is not going to come through multiple, I guess, layers. It just comes directly from
it's multiple levels. It's not only that you get thrashing within, right? You also get thrashing from your banking partners, sometimes from the regulator. Hey, what you have done this? Like I remember when we had launched Uber, it was typically called as Uber Flow, right? Which was very interesting what happened in India, right? It was happening in outside India, but within India, it was a big thing, right? The whole user experience. So obviously you used to get thrashing even from the regulator. Okay, give us answers to this. So that all thing, basically what it does is that it trains you for facing anything in this world, right? Because if you have crossed those hurdles already, right? If you've crossed those, and so this Dalchini as a business was there in my mind when I was there in my school, that okay, not exactly the way it is Dalchini, but obviously some way how I can scale this retail space, right? Is there a way I can scale this retail space? Obviously the final thing came in when we over a period of time, right? Even in my post-grad college, right, it was a B plan, in one of the B plan competition. I had actually submitted this as with the name of Clinic Foods, right? I had actually submitted and won that B plan competition also. But what working in a startup trained me was to actually have the guts to do it, right? That is, I think, the most important thing. And then face it. Like if you've done something wrong, just face it and have the guts to correct it. Go and accept it in front of your team that, hey, I've made a mistake. Okay, now I'm going back. I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna correct it and come back to you guys again. So that's what
I hear a lot of things about guts here, right? Because you need to have the guts to ask a very critical question in a conference, right? And you need to have a lot of guts to join a startup and deal with regulators, especially when you're saying you don't have that much experience, and then you need to have a lot of guts to own up when you've made mistakes. So I guess the whole Prerna Kalra, that we could call it the PK story, would be about guts and glory.
Yeah, I think it is important.
Where's that guts? Because even I've done so many meetings with you. We met in Delhi. We met in multiple different places. We literally closed your entire investment, if I remember, in 48 hours.
Yeah, right? I still remember. That was also very interesting because you were already talking to some other funds, right? And then you were introduced to us through somebody, to Siddharth to Pratibhan, and we were like, okay, we liked you. Okay, let's have a conversation. So we had I think almost an hour conversation on WhatsApp with 4 of us together, and we almost closed everything in 48 hours. And I think you met us after that, after having all that conversation. Then we actually met, and then
after we decided to invest in you, that's when we met you.
Yeah. So that was very interesting.
So let's obviously so Vijay Shekhar Sharma, VSS as people call him, is revered, right, within the startup town, and you've worked very closely with him. So what was the experience like? What is it like? What is it like for people that are listening in right now? What is it like working with the Vijay Shekhar Sharma, someone who's completely enamored the Indian startup scene for the last decade now?
Mm-hmm. So.
Go ahead.
So there are multiple things when you work with somebody who has such high ambition, such big vision, right? So what happens is you get to groom yourself and prepare yourself for a bigger thing, right? You get to see that bigger picture, that how do you dream big, right? How do you dream outside of what people would have actually thought of, right? So obviously there are pros and cons of working in an aggressive startup, right? But I think for me it has been really good. I would say there were much more positives of working there, and that's why I was there for almost 7 years over there. Much more positives than I would say that what was the bad side of it or any negatives about it.
So one of the users just said, people from Merit already have a lot of guts. But let me ask you that.
Yeah, I think it is known for a lot of good and bad things. So yeah, it is good because like my schooling till 12th, I was there in Meerut, and then I was lucky one that my father allowed me to go to Chandigarh and do my engineering, right? And that's how, like you asked guts, like how it came in, right? Because there were just 2 choices, like either you stay home and then you become stay at home, right? Or there is another choice that okay, you go alone, right, with a 300-kilometer far away from your city, and you've never been, like you've been at home pampered by your father, mother, and an elder brother, right? So you just have had two choices, like either you have the guts, go out, but
make it happen.
Make it big for yourself, right? Or you stay here, like you have the options, you have both the options, right? But if you choose to go there, right, then you are on your own, right? Obviously my dad had his own business, right? He can't come there with me along with me, and obviously I cried first few months, cried a lot, but then slowly and steadily I could see that okay, these 4 years could change my life, for me, for my family.
So in fact, we'll take an audience question. Someone just asked that why the name Dalchini, and I don't believe they would understand Hindi. So maybe you could give the answer of why you chose the name Dalchini for your startup.
Yeah, so dalchini in India is associated with health. It's a spice which is used in both savory and sweet dishes, and that's how I came to the name Dalchini, because we always wanted to be a brand which is around food, both savory and sweet and healthy. So all three things together.
I think Dalchini is also supposed to be something that boosts your immunity.
Right? Yeah, health. Yeah, it is like, and especially during COVID times, a lot of times my mother tells me ki make dalchini pani and then drink kada, what we call it as.
Yeah, very true, very true. Okay, so and let's take another audience question. What's the most important thing you learned in your journey? I guess let's say your journey with Paytm, because we're going to talk about Dalchini after this, right?
So I would say out of box thinking, right? Okay, there is a standard process of thinking, and I would just give a example over here, right? Everything right over there. So these people told us that how do people make payments in China is they used to show their QR code, the merchant used to scan it, and the payment was done, right? But when we came in India, it's not going to work, because here the merchants would not have smartphones. It could be better that the high-end customer will start owning up smartphones. So we would build it reverse way, right? Which is customer will scan the QR code and make payment. And still actions happen the other way out, right? So think out of box. So as a product manager,
okay, good. So I mean, let's not talk about the switch, right? So you've got obviously an amazing job. Obviously, the company by 2017, I think Paytm was valued at almost $6.1 billion. I think we're losing a bit of light with you. What I was saying is that, okay, 2017 rolls around. This is around the time when you decided to leave Paytm, right? And then jump to make your own company. By this time, Paytm is worth 25 times the amount of money when you actually started in 2011. It's worth about 6.1 billion. You obviously have ESOPs. They're worth a lot of money. I'm sure you've got nice perks in the company at that point, right? You've got like a chef, Amy, that probably cooks food for you every morning, just taking it away from Silicon Valley, the show. But then you decide, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to actually create my own company, right? And I'm going to tell VSS that I'm leaving, right? How did that happen? What was the conversation like? What was the motivation to say, you know what? This is it. Was there like a moment at which you decided, or what was it?
So actually, it was a moment. It was a moment, and while the thoughts of building Dalchini was still there in mind, and the term Dalchini was still not coined by that time in my mind perfectly, the shape of the business was still not there, right? But one day I decided that, okay, enough of it, right? I've built a product, right? Taken to a scale, right? Then another product, which is Payment Bank, which at that point in time, 2017, I was building, right? So I was like, no, enough of it, right? I have done a lot of things, and there is no further learning. Obviously, some bit of learning is always there, like incremental learnings are there, right? But is there a substantial learning which was happening? And that's the point in time I decided that, okay, I had a dream way back when I was in school, and then I was in college, right? When would I work on it, right? So, yeah.
And that was it. Okay. No, good. So when you started with Dalchini, was there anything you took from what was it that you took from your Paytm experience besides thinking outside the box? Was there anything else you took from there, saying, you know what, when I'm building this company, I have to think like this, or I'm gonna, avoid or I'm going to do these things that really worked at Paytm? What was those two things that you probably took from Paytm?
Mhm. So so at Dalchini, like the way initially we started building Dalchini, and we were like for a lot of time we were bootstrapped for almost a year. We were bootstrapped, right? And we were like building I would say that we were building way towards a sustainable business, which has much more for the partners to make money off, right? Which is like I would say the unit economics, right? When you call it, right? And that's what I thought, that when I will build this something new, right? So while Paytm was a thin margin business, right, but enormous scale, right? So that was a different kind of a business, right? And this was a different business, right? Dalchini. And what I also wanted was that, is there a way that I can bring what I have already earned? Can I take back something to the society, give that back to the society, right?
And we're going to get into that, right? About how you're supporting all these entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So I always had this like I got this opportunity because of my parents. They supported me, and I could like family always had I always had a strong family backing in everything and that I did all through, right? But there are a lot of others, and especially women, who don't have that, right? Who don't have that flexibility to go out every day morning and come back late, right? And that's how has been my lifestyle at Paytm was, right? You don't like time. There is no foundation when it comes to work, right? There is no time foundation.
And you don't know whether it's sunset or sunrise.
Yeah, I still remember that. Like, just to tell you that I just took a 2 months maternity leave at Paytm, right? And that's it. Like, I was back to work after 2 months. In fact, after 15 days, I was working from home, by the way.
Wow.
So you don't actually, and that was the time. It was passion, right? I would not say that there's nothing pressure. It was passion. It was more driven from passion, right? But I could definitely see that there was a lot of support that I had, because of which I continue working on my passion, right? And which I could that luxury of it, right? And that's how this entire piece of Dalchini, can we connect these women, right? Can we connect these home chefs, like who are brilliant at something? Can they make a business out of it, right? Just not be at
Let's talk
home.
about that. How are you helping some of these home chefs? And I know primarily, I think 90% of them are women. What is it that Dalchini provides to, and if there's a home chef that's listening in, what does Dalchini provide to a home chef, right? That I guess nobody else could, right?
So what we give to them is that we give them a face, right? That's the most important thing, that they are brilliant cooks, right? They have a expertise with them, right? We give them a face through Dalchini vending machine. We help them set up these smart vending machines as their own shops. And remember, mom and pop stores, right, which are there, like there 14 million of them, right? Can they be digitally connected through these smart vending machines, and then can they sell their food stuff through these vending machines to the customers who would really appreciate their work, right? So that's what we do. So we have, as of now, I would say that 70% of our vending machines are on a franchisee route, whereby there is a franchisee partner who gets a location, invests a small amount, around 2.5 lakhs they invest, and then they make big money out of it, right? So the returns are as high as 35%, right? Yep. So that's what we give them as an opportunity. It's not only about that you have expertise with which you can make your family happy. There is reach, revenue, recognition. This is what our mantra is, right? Reach, revenue, recognition is what we wanted to give them when we started Dalchini.
So there are two parts that you're helping out, right? One is if someone's a home chef, right? You're providing them the entire distribution network that you guys have created, about 300 odd machines spread between Delhi NCR, Chandigarh,
Mumbai, Pune.
Right. Yeah. And so if you're a home chef in any one of these places, how can home chefs that are listening in, how can they contact you today?
So I think the team over there would be sending you. You can just send us your details, and our team would connect you They will help you on board. If you want to set up your own smart vending machine, you'll be able to do that. In case you want to just sell on our platform, you'll be able to do that. Yeah.
And
And it's
I
very
guess some
quick.
of the
It's
people who could
quick.
be users, their question is, how do you manage quality control issues since your
Yeah. So
suppliers are home chef?
correct. So there is so it's not only that we just give you a platform to sell, right? We help them. So most of the partners who sell on our platform, right? They were very small tiffin services when they started, right? We helped them build processes. We got them licenses for setting up, and now some of them right now are so much tech savvy that they live stream their cooking to us, right?
Oh, wow.
So that's how we have grown from a home chef who's cooking from her own kitchen to the times now where they're live streaming their kitchens, right, through our technology platform. So that's how so it's not only that we give them something and then they're on their own. We give them and we help them scale.
And you're also, we can also talk a little bit about the testing process that you guys have to make sure that, and how you're smartly tagging food so that if anybody wants to even install a machine in their office, right? What does Dalchini provide to ensure that the food quality is good?
So one is that they're food partners who are selling on our platform, and we help them with all kind of processes to sell on our platform, right? Still, right, we have multiple layer of checks over and above also when the food comes, right? There is a designated been set. We help them with the recipes, the packaging, everything, right? Now the food, after a point in time, or when all these processes have been followed, right? So this food then goes to machines. Even after that, there is another feedback mechanism, which is the customers giving us feedback. So all this also then reaches to the food partner. So there is a complete chain. And then there are third-party auditors, right, who audit these kitchens also periodically in order to generate, basically they certify them that, okay, these are the kitchens who are working with you. This is what has been their
I guess
which has been already shared with them.
So it's amazing. So I guess if you're a home chef, on average, what do you think your home chefs on the Dalchini platform are making? Additional income over and above what they...
So anywhere between 15,000 to 50,000 rupees, a single chef is able to make per month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they don't have to worry about delivery and anything. You just come and pick everything up.
Nothing. Everything is something that is managed by Dalchini. From, in fact, even the recipes part of everything, right? From recipe, packaging, we had them everywhere.
So that's a good thing. So guys, if some of you guys want to try out the home chef bit in this pandemic, just contact Dalchini, become a home chef, and they'll take care of everything. You can earn
in fact, if you are there in one of your apartments and you don't have food all the time and you don't want to cook, right? So we can actually set up smart vending machines into apartments. We're already doing that, right? So initially we started with offices and hospitals, hostels, educational institutes, and now apartments. So we're there in some of the apartments in NCR already, and we are gearing up to set up more such smart vending machines into apartments. And what we're seeing that because the food is, and there is like I said, it's from cooking processes to live streaming, everything is there on the app, right? With which we manage these partners. So it becomes, for the customer also, the entire process is so transparent that they're happy to buy something like this, right? And in fact, the vending machines also, these are 100% contactless. The only thing that you have to do is that just pick up the food item from the vending machine, right? And everything otherwise you can manage from the app itself.
Wonderful. And then before we get into the investor questions, let's talk a little bit about also, if somebody wants to own a vending machine, right? What do they need to do? What do they need to do? I believe VSS owns 6 of them, right? And then Narendra Karnawat owns, like, I think 70 or 80 of them at this point. So
yeah. So this is obviously, like I said, that we wanted to build a product which has much better unit economics, right? and the way we have built it for our partners also is the same way, right? So they invest a small amount and then they make money over 5 years time horizon. Now, how do they get it? The only thing that they have to do is like if there are two kind of partners. One is somebody who is a food business operator, right? Has a food business of their own, right? And another could be just I want to start something, right? I have that spirit. I want to start something in a small city like say Indore, Jaipur, right? I want to start a business, right? So what we help them with is that they can just identify few locations, and the entire supply chain, the entire technology process, everything is something that we provide them, right? Right from right from our ML based tool for procurement to the refilling processes and the app through which they can manage their on ground people, right? The vending machines, everything is something that we would provide them. The partners for selling the food, right? What they only
Prerna, you're a little soft. You have to get a little louder, just so that you're a little more
okay.
audible. Yeah. So good. So if someone wants to now own a vending machine, they're so excited about it right now. How do they contact you? How do they become a partner?
So just go on our website, dalchini.co.in. You can just fill up a form over there, and one of our team members would connect you and help you on board. And what you only have to do is identify a good location where you can see there could be a good footfall, and you can sell good amount of food to the customer. There is a good demand. Just find out a location and contact us. We'll be able to help you out with everything.
You will take care of the rest. Makes sense. So yeah, before Artha came on board, and one of the things that really was exciting was looking through the list of investors you already had. So you had Pradyum Agarwal, you had Amit Lakotia, you had Siddharth Lavsaria, who have co-invested with for the last 7-8 years. In fact, we're also investors in his venture. How did you get these amazing group of entrepreneurs on board?
So I would say that one of the things that you asked me what I've learned during Paytm was also build a good network, right? And have some good bunch of people who would back you and would also point out to your mistakes, right? Who would also say, hey, this is not right, right? Or maybe you're going the wrong way. Maybe you would like to have a relook at what you're doing. So while thinking about Dalchini and brainstorming, so there were some people whom I stumbled upon. Some of them I knew because of my past work at Dalchini, right? And what I could connect, some of them were with whom I could really connect well. Like for example, Amit, I could talk more about business, unit economics, right? And Pradyuman, I could talk more about the deck. Okay, how do we see likes it? And he's from Temsec, so obviously he understands that side of. Everybody got a new perspective to everybody about what we were doing. Everybody had their feedback about what we were doing right or wrong, right? And that's all. And obviously in this round as well, like we are doing a bridge round.
Yeah, you're raising a new round, right? You're
We're getting
almost
some
90% raise.
Yeah.
And
so there as well, the objective was to get some good angels, right? Because ultimately they're gonna go. Obviously they are experienced people. Gonna show you the right path, right? They are the ones with whom you can have a heart-to-heart conversation, right? And obviously mental health problems. You have such bunch of good people who are backing you, right? It's always good to have some conversations with them, right? Whether it is a employee or it's a business problem, right? So when you have such conversations with them, at least you're mentally you come out mentally much more stronger.
So I think, and that's it's so critical. I think when most entrepreneurs forget that the role of an investor isn't just the paycheck, or isn't just the check that they write, but rather it goes one step beyond. It's all those value adds that you get from the investor coming on board, and therefore sometimes even being able to choose the investor you raise money from is so important, right? You're going to have your active and your passive investors, and You have to make sure that you're raising the right kind of capital and you have enough active capital, like people who are going to give time besides the money to your company. That's what people like, Pradyuman or Amit or Siddharth, these are the guys that will give you time. They write checks, but they'll also give you time. Good. What we'll do is I'll take a couple of audience questions, then we'll go into the rapid fire questions. So there is someone who's asking that what is the payback period and ROI for me if suppose I want to set up a vending machine?
For Dalchini vending machine, the payback would be as low as 12 months. 12 to 18 months, most of our franchisee partners are able to get their payback. And after that, for the next 5 years, remaining years, you just make money out of it.
And this is obviously net of all the expenses.
All the expenses. This is net. This is net of all kind of OPEX, CAPEX, everything.
And another question someone asked, which was a good one, was what is the most undervalued skill that is needed as an entrepreneur?
Accept mistakes.
Acceptance of mistakes. Good one. Let me see. If anybody else wants to ask a question, please go ahead before we start rapid fire.
Oh, I'm all geared up.
You're geared up. I'm just letting you breathe a little bit before I get into it.
Okay.
One question that we had is your menu packing recipe uniform across all locations?
Most of them. Yeah.
Most of them. Okay.
Yeah, we help them set up everything, right? From recipe to packaging, everything.
So, I will get into rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All it's going to happen, I'm going to ask a question. You got to give an answer right away. Like, you can't take very long.
Okay.
And we'll go from there, right? So, ready? Cool. What do you know now that you wish you would have known earlier?
Having money in your bank is the most important thing.
Yeah, always the most important thing. Okay, one piece of advice that you received, right, through your entrepreneurial journey that you still follow today?
Make notes. Make notes of everything.
That's so important. You get so much information at times and you feel like you
Absolutely.
remember it. But as an entrepreneur, you're like, you have so many, I think like entrepreneurs forget there's so many TVs open in your brain, right? That you need to know that when you're watching one, just make notes. Such a critical skill. Biggest advice to founders about fundraising, because you're about to raise your third round.
It's about to get the right investor. It's about to get the right investor, then the value or the amount of funds you are raising, anything else. It's about getting the right people.
One piece of advice that sounded good was extremely bad. When you heard it, you're like, oh, this is great advice, huh?
Extremely bad. Right? You said extremely bad.
When you heard it, you thought it was amazing advice, but then when you applied it or with experience, you realized it was utter crap. You don't have to name the person. You don't have to name the person. So
you don't have to name.
Don't have to. Of course not.
I would say most of the advices that I've got from, maybe I've spoken to only good people. So I think they have been useful.
You don't have to be diplomatic. You can be truthful. There's definitely some bad advice.
Okay. You can't trust everyone.
You
can't trust everyone. So, but I think that it's more about everybody is there in a situation, right? Most of the times you meet good people, maybe they're in a bad situation, right? So saying that you can't trust is, I think, somewhere wrong, what I feel.
So what are you doing when you're not building Dalchini?
I'm spending time with my little one, my daughter, and learning from her.
Wow. We should invite her for a board meeting.
By the way, all the time that I was there at Paytm, that she used to be every day coming to office. There was a daycare at Paytm. So all the time, and my office timings were till 9 and the daycare used to end at 7. So 7 to 9, she was all the time roaming around in the entire Paytm office.
Oh, wow.
So everybody knew it. Everybody knew that, okay, somebody is shouting, it must be Prerna's daughter.
Where do you see Dalchini in the next 12 months? If in July 2021, right? If you're back on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're discussing last 12 months, where are you going to be?
At least 10 times what we are today.
So roughly about 3,000 machines.
You
Wow.
can say so.
And 5 years? What's the vision?
I think at least a lakh machine.
1 lakh.
At least a lakh touch points, I would say. At least a lakh touch points.
So yeah, guys, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for installing Dalchini machines. So get in there quickly. Okay, if an investor can provide one value to you besides the money, right? Besides the money, what would it be?
How do we give back, right? Give back to the society, right? So that's what has been a kind of a vision,
But do you
mission.
think
It's not.
investors will give you advice on giving back to society? Investors are greedy people.
No, actually, the way I look at it is, right, if you're building for your own, right, you can only scale to an X level, right? But if you're building for the ecosystem, if you're
There
building
you
an
go.
ecosystem, you should, if you're building for, like I said, that there's so many food business operators in the country, right? We're not gonna replace all of them, right? We're gonna build along with them.
One thing that you would like to change about the Delhi startup ecosystem, because you're part of it.
I think there's a lot of this Delhi, Bangalore shit. Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai. Come on. We should just chuck that conversation out. It's India.
I thought the best startups come from Bombay.
Oh, really? So I have myself stayed in Mumbai for 3 years, and NCR, like I've been for like 7 years, and about 6 months in Bangalore, and I am from Meerut, and I've 4 years in Chandigarh. So I think every city has their own unique things and goods and bads. So we should check out that conversation.
Okay, cool. If you could pick the brain of one founder, okay, you could choose any founder in the world, and you could have that person for 24 hours. Who would it be?
Mr. Ratan Tata.
Mr. Ratan. And what would you like to learn from him? What would you
How
ask him?
how did they had that feeling of giving back to the country so much? Like, what was the inspiration? What was the whole thought process behind it? Hey, you're not building an NGO, right? You're not building an NGO, but you still could give so much back to the country, right? So that is what I want to learn. That what gave them, what was the motivation behind doing this?
I was in a closed room with him about I would say roughly about 6 months ago, and I got to interact one on one, and it's so amazing. Even at his age, he's so sharp-witted, right? And he's so articulate. I mean, it's a great conversation. Amazing person. Last question, right? And this rapid fire has been the slowest rapid fire so far. Is
Okay.
a book a book that you're reading right now?
How do you raise funds from venture capitalists? You gave me that book. You remember?
Oh yeah,
So
the
yeah,
Bible.
I've been reading it again and again. Okay, every time I get a new learning. So first time I read about it, and that was pre-COVID, when I saw in the first chapter I saw a graph that okay, there is VC, then there is private equity. There's a kind of a sine curve, right?
Yeah.
And that was pre-COVID when I read it, and I could see it now that it totally applies to all of us
The
now.
Entrepreneurial Bible to Venture Capital. It's something that we
Yes.
given. Yeah, amazing book. Amazing book. I actually reached out to the author to thank him for writing this book.
Yeah.
Good. I think we've covered all the questions. There was one question, and we've got enough time just to answer the one question from the audience. Is that how did you choose your co-founder, Vidya, right? And how did you meet him, and what was the whole conversation? We just have enough time to get that answer.
Okay, so I have one most important word, which is a lot of you co-founder people who are looking for co-founders or have co-founders should look forward to is trust. Like me and Vidya were part of the same team at Paytm, and Vidya was part of my team at Paytm. We were working on the same product, which is Wallet, right? But the one most important character inside that I got to know about him was you can, like, I was so blindly trust him with everything. Like, either he would say, yes, I'm doing it, and then he would get it done, right? Or he would say, hey, this is not right. I'm not doing it, right? Or I don't agree to this point of yours, right? So he will give all his justifications, right? In order to justify if something is right or wrong. But once we decide, okay, we are going this route, so then he will give all his mind, energy, everything to make that happen. So that was one thing which was so amazing about him, which made me look forward to him join Dalchini.
In fact, I remember giving him advice to write a blog, right? And he took the longest time to write it. But then once he got the feedback on that, he was like, this is the most amazing thing. I'll write one every week. And he's pretty consistent at writing. So yeah, I mean, it's such a key skill, right? That because sometimes you may not agree with your co-founder, but and you may have to go with their idea. And it's so important to be able to support your co-founder, whether or not the idea was yours, and to support them in a way that as if it was your own idea, right? That's such a key skill, and I can definitely see that in Vidya. So Prerna, I think we've come to the end of our time. It's been an amazing conversation. We've discussed everything from, building one unicorn to now starting your second unicorn, and then obviously having your daughter who's definitely going to be a unicorn. And we've had a great time. Any last thoughts for entrepreneurs that are
It was 1.2 for you. Like, we have had multiple conversations in past, but this one's the most memorable one. I would definitely remember this one always. Yeah.
Good.
You're saying something.
Any one piece of advice before we end the call?
Yeah, it's difficult times, but I think just stay tuned to it, right? Don't lose the motivation. You're here for something big, then just look forward to that, and that should be your motivation to just hold on for some more time. It will pass.
And that's a great lesson to end this call, is that remember, no matter what times are, if they're great times or bad, this too shall pass. Right.
Yeah.
And don't worry, just hang in there. The key over here is to survive. And when the tide turns and the wind is again behind your sail, you will reap the benefits. So thank you very much, everybody, for being on the call tonight. We had an amazing entrepreneur again in Prerna Kalra, and we'll discuss everything from Paytm all the way to a journey at Dalchini, and now building Dalchini into the next unicorn. Thank you very much. We'll see you again next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Thank you so much, Prerna.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.